Alright, let's start this up. Pop the frunk. Don't mind the mess. Pop this panel. Yeah, the winter has been not nice. Lots of sand, lots of salt. Pop these straight up. Find the contact points and lift from there. Try not to lift from too far away. Always go to where you have to lift from. Sometimes the tabs stay in the car. You have to pull them out. That one's missing. I'm gonna need to get it out of there. Now I have a pry tool that has like a U shape on it. It's very useful. I use that for a lot of things. I just put my finger on the other side. These things are pretty robust, so don't be too bashful with adding some pressure. You lose a couple, it's not the end of the world. Just reallocate them to the farther ends, and everything will usually stay in place just fine. They're only like $4 or $5 to order online. I think you get a pack of 4. It's not really necessary until you really start running out of them. Like I said, the winter hasn't been kind. Lots of sand and salt. Makes it kind of hard. A little slight corrosion and stuff like that. Metal on metal tabs doesn't really pop easy. Usually this is easier for a lot of people. This is a 2021. So like I'm doing here, you want to go from the tops, go down. As you noticed, the container for the frunk is loose. I had it removed to test the light, and I had some issues with the light, so I just left it open to do this video, but I'm gonna end up closing it all back up by the end. Didn't really need to use this tool, but it's a bit of a finger saver, so. There's some panels in there you pop off. I'll show you in some pictures. Can't really see it. It's hard to get the camera in there. That one's to the back. There's 2 of those and a bolt on either side. And then those are on either end. And there's 2 bolts on either side. Yet again, another one stayed in. There it is. I have a little bit of trouble with this one. It worries me when the whole fixture kind of lifts up, because I'm like, these are just plastic, but they're pretty robust. And they're replaceable, so not a big deal. Pop it off. So put it back on. I'm not sure which torque bit this is, but it's medium size. They were already loose. I didn't even tighten them down with a tool. There they are. Then there's usually 2 bolts at the top up there, and I already had those out as well. Now be careful when you pull this out. Pull it off to the side a little bit, set it down so you can remove the connectors for the light and the emergency Frunk button. Now remember those when you put it back down. Try not to get them pinched in there. This is the connector that came with it. I had to make some modifications for North American lights. I basically cut and cauterized the white wire from the right side, and I moved it over to one of the middle wires. It's like the third one from the left, and you just wire it off. I used a butt connector and then some hot glue to try to keep as much moisture out as possible. With this, you just kind of like give a little tension on the wire, not too much. Push the button and it pops out. Match up the connector. And then, if you can find the hole, it's there. It's above the little adjustment port. I'm going to use a pry tool for this. There's like locking caps that go on they're like, I don't know, push on washer nut things. And then you just kind of destroy them. Get underneath them, beat the shit out of them, pull them off, chuck them into the car to the great beyond. They're not gonna get in your tire or anything, so it's not that big a deal. I have some bumper damage, so I'm gonna be taking off the bumper anyway, so I'll probably find those roaming around in there. There's 4 posts. I'll miss one initially, but there's 3 posts on the light up pony. It uses one of the posts' holes to send the wires through. And yeah. Oh, one more. If you've never made a video of yourself and then did a voiceover, I highly recommend it. It's really fun to watch, and commentary on your stupidity. And there it is. It looks nice. So I, like I said, I got a pony that had some lighting issues. So I made some modifications. I tinted where the chrome is, and I put vinyl over the centerpiece. I used some filler, smoothed it over, painted it, and then vinyled it. I thought it looked kind of neat. It's not the greatest thing in the world. But here I am taking a tool, very fine tool, and I'm poking it into the end of the connector, and laying down the little metal nubs that hold the wires in, well, hold the pins in, and then they just slide right out. But you want to re-raise those nubs so that you can lock the pins back in to the connector. That was my dog. I'm trying to show you, but it's really hard to see. Little, yeah. You can feel it as long as it's raised enough. Best thing to use is probably a razor, like a drywall knife, and then just stick it in and then slowly, gently pry it up at a slight angle. Doesn't need to be much. It catches pretty easy. Those line up in the connector. There's like a channel that those line up in. You want to make sure they're aimed towards the channel, or you're just going to flatten them out the wrong. They put them in the wrong direction. There, I'm figuring it out where the pin is and the wire goes. I pulled it up through the middle, and then I realized that I couldn't get my hands down inside to tighten down the pin, or to put the knot washers on. That's a 7, by the way. 7mm. Now, this is the camera and the sprayer for the camera. It just comes right off pretty easily, but you have to pull out the sprayer part and unhook the trim piece. That trim piece is like $40, so be very careful. It's just a tiny little piece of plastic. It's obnoxious. It didn't come with my car. I think it comes off in the ice pretty easy. So like every time you wash your windshield, it pops out to clean the camera at the same time, always. So if you have any obstructions, you'll lose it. Just take some pliers, take your finger, pull it out, take some pliers, hold it in place, and then it pries kind of from side to side. There's 2 little nubs on either side that go into the plastic. Yeah, look how tiny that thing is. Then I just push it down inside because there's too much stuff to pull off to get it out. So just push it down so that I can fit my hand in there. Or if you're a little bit meatier than me, maybe a tool would work. They have these angle pliers. I don't know, you can use them for like mechanic stuff, fishing, and Harbor Freight. They're pretty long. Those would probably work pretty good. And then just push in the emblem as far as you can while you're pushing in the thing. Again, I could have used a tool, but I opted out this is a temporary pony anyways, so when the replacement comes, I'll have one more like stock. I I took the glue off the back of my pony. I'm not sure if that'll cause issues with keeping it water resistant, but I felt like it went further in that way, so probably why it's sticking out a little bit. And then put it back on. Make sure if you're using power tools, you set your impact, if you have an impact, hopefully you have an impact, to a low setting, especially when you're dealing with plastic pieces and trim pieces and stuff. You don't want to over tighten anything. And I catch that sucker before it goes in. Then do everything in reverse. I don't like how loose that is, but that's probably why it was gone in the first place. The other thing is when you put those on, you could probably wrap something around it, but you definitely don't want to like set it in place, glue it in place or anything, because it needs to be able to flex and move and stuff. So unfortunately, not the best design part, but now it's feeding time. Just further over to the passenger side as I can get, and then to the inside the best I can, because there's not that much length on this. I think it might be better to have a little more length, but it is what it is. Feed it through. As reluctant as it is. Then you just kind of follow along the wall, wrapping it behind wires and connectors and stuff like that as much as possible to keep it out from the middle area where the bucket goes, because the bucket will catch it and destroy it instantly, because that thing is, those wires are thin. And then instead of popping them into the connector, I put the connector on the other connector, and then I put the pins in and line them up with the color correspondent on the other end. Give them a little tug to make sure they don't fall out, and you're good. Do a little test before I put everything back in. Lights up. We're good. Let's put everything back. I set this in there at an angle so that I don't pinch those cords. Hold it up. Put the connectors on. I like this bucket because I can just leave all the tools that I'm working on the car with in there. God, I can't wait to clean that thing out. There's a mess in there. One one of the best things to do is to try to push the bottom backwards as far as you can, and then it kind of like leans back into place. I'm going to put the front screws back in. The passenger side was a little finicky. I think they're nylon clips that they screw into. So even though it might feel like they're cross-threading, it really doesn't matter too much. A lot of times it'll feel tight for no particular reason. It's just kind of how they are. And then you find the bit again. Which for whatever reason aren't numbered. Quick connectors. Oh, so nice. Easy peasy. Put everything away as soon as I use it because I'll forget it and it'll pile up in a pile. My trusty deep socket 10, my 1/4 inch drill bit. And you gotta make sure you don't cross thread these for sure. Especially if you're using power tools, you wanna give it a light squeeze first if it doesn't wanna give. And back out until you seat it properly, like right here. I was trying to figure out why it wouldn't go any further. Backed it out, lined it back up, good to go. Pop this in, screw down all the ones down below, pop in all the covers. And then put all the other trim pieces on. Left or right, it doesn't really matter what you start with, as long as you don't snap it in right away, because they have to overlap. The right goes over top of the left, I believe. Yeah. That's one clip you want to make sure you've got, is the one in the middle. And this sucker kind of can be a pain in the butt to line up right away. I'm going to go start from the back. It's pretty much the best way to do it. And it lines up pretty decent. And I just go in reverse, start from the back, or start from the front, and then move towards the back. I have to check that one in the front. Looks like it's up a little bit, but that could just be the angle of the camera and the shadow. Slam that. Do a final test. Looks nice. Hope you enjoyed.